The first thing we need to look at is what people think what a leader should be. Okay, and most people think that the best leaders are the ones who can answer all the questions. My people come to me and I can give it all to them. And I think that used to work before, all right? However, what we're finding is that, something we've learned is that the world is changing so fast. There's a term we use to describe how the world is. It actually came from the military, and it's now used to describe in business. The term is called VUCA. VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So, I can't think of a better way to describe how the world is right now. It's really changing so fast, and the thing is, if you were, one way to look at this, if it's, this is from a video I saw before, is that a leader is like the captain of a ship, okay? And the ship is supposed to go to this direction, right? But the question is, because the world's changing so fast, what if you need to go to a new location that no one's been to? Or what if suddenly, there's no more water? What if suddenly the concept of a ship is different now? So what do you do? Okay, so what we're learning there is that, I think this is the question. The thing is that most leaders think they always need to have the answers. But because the world is changing so fast, nobody can have the answers. Now, at the same time, what's been happening is that information is becoming more available. I think this probably, a lot of people think about dumbing down, but this is really the smartest people has ever been in the history of the world because information is so available. So as a leader, I think what needs for them to move to fight VUCA, if they were to work against all this complexity, is to use the wisdom of the people around you. Okay, and the way you do that is by asking questions. All right. Now, the most people think that when you respond to something, you give statements. Now, statements activate your logical brain. You say things that have worked before. All right, and normally that can work, right? But when you ask questions, it's a little different. When you ask questions, it activates a different part of your brain. You become more imaginative. You look at possibilities. So maybe, and by doing this, you can find new ways that have never been done before. All right. So a good leader should be able to ask questions in order to address VUCA, because the world is changing. You need new solutions. All right. And then if you get your people, and one last thing, leaders come to me and always say, I want to empower my people. I want to make them innovative. I want to be collaborative. I tell them, then don't give the answers. Give them questions. All right. So why don't leaders ask questions? All right. And what we found is that, so look at why do people not ask questions in the first place? And I think there's a stigma with questions. The most common thing is that we don't have time for questions. We got to do this now, So that's one. The second thing is if you ask questions, it feels like you're challenging things. It feels like you're not agreeing. So there's a stigma that, if you ask questions, you're not really helping. But I think the problem is that we were never really trained how to ask questions. I mean, have you attended a class on how to ask questions? We know questions are great, but I look back at, in my whole, I don't think anybody has really taught people how to. So we know questions are great, but no one has really taught us how to do it. And so that's why, and that's when I learned that to ask questions, the biggest thing is you need to have the right mindset. Okay. A lot of times, especially for leaders, let's say there's a project. The project did not get the result you wanted. And then you ask questions. And normally a leader who is, maybe a little new, comes from what's called a judger mindset. Why did this happen? Who's at fault here? And these are the questions nobody likes. It's disempowering, but it's questions that you need to ask. But a good leader is able to ask the same questions, but from what we call a learner mindset, so that they will be able to create results. So instead of asking, who's at fault here, you look at, okay, so tell me what happened, rather than asking, who's creating the delay? Okay, let's look at the process. Where are the bottlenecks, And I think that is more productive, that is more constructive. You get more people, because if you ask the first one, the judger mindset question, people get defensive. You will not get learning that way. You will not solve VUCA that way. But if you ask the learner questions, then that's how you can go across the ambiguity. That's how you go across the complexity. And that's why, so if you want to learn how to ask better questions, adopt the learner mindset rather than the judger's mindset. All right, so I talked about VUCA earlier, and VUCA again is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Now, some very creative people came up. So how do you address VUCA? So you address it with something called VUCA Prime. Okay, and what is VUCA Prime? It's vision, it's understanding, it's clarity, and agility. And when you think about it, the only way you can get this is by asking questions. How many times have we had meetings where people are fighting and then somebody says, wait, what are we doing here again? And then suddenly gets everybody back together. That's vision. All right? You're looking at this whole thing, you don't know what the problem is. You try to use critical thinking in order to dissect it. That's understanding, right? And that's clarity, all right? And then if you get more people involved, then that's agility. So the way to handle VUCA is VUCA Prime: vision, understanding, clarity, agility. All right, so there is, the world's not perfect. The world's not perfect. And we've had a lot of mishaps along the way. And somebody made a study on some of these mishaps, and they found that for many mishaps, it could have been avoidable, all right? And the way it could have been avoided is that if somebody just stepped in and asked the right question, like, wait, is this the right thing we're doing? I mean, wait, what if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? But what happens is that there's this thing called go fever, that go fever is that because people just want to get it done, and which is a great, quality, all right? You just want to get it done, you want to get results quickly. And what happens is that people just forget to ask questions. And they now, and there's this concept called groupthink. People are, because everybody's thinking the same way, that they actually ignore asking questions. And, if you look at the examples like the Titanic or Challenger, or, it sometimes is, if a person shows up and asks the right question, then maybe it could have taken away, the groupthink, the go fever. And maybe things could have been better. And I look at, and when I talk about this in corporations, and they do their own postmortem of what went wrong, that's what they almost said. We should have asked that question when we were doing it. So, part of it is that we need to have a culture that is comfortable asking questions, who knows how to ask the right questions. That's how you can avoid groupthink. And if you avoid groupthink, you will get better solutions.